that's your water tower, that's your substation. Picnic shelters, because it's not really an enclosed building, right? Personal property, this stuff right here is personal property. So you take the buildings, flip it upside down, shake it, whatever falls out is related to that. The very next page, we have a broken down, it kind of gives you the valuations. The city of Grant currently insures over $12 million worth of property. Okay, and that's not counting equipment, autos, or any of those types of things. We're just talking about structures and commercial property. That number is up about 3.85%. Reason why is this chair last year may have cost less than what it does this year, especially with the fancy sign on the back for private seating. So those types of things are that added value to that chair. So that's what I'm saying. Those types of things there, that increases. So they're trying to work that lovely word inflation, trying to keep on par with it. So a couple big items. I remember when I first started with the account, the substation wasn't insured at that time. They just were doing a sinking fund, and we didn't insure the substation, which technically could have messed with our blanket, because we got to keep a certain amount of our property within that level. That substation value today is roughly almost $2.3 million if it blew away. So would that replace it? I don't know. It would probably be pretty close is what we're hoping. Some other, I'm already making people leave. The swimming pool, of course, is another big item, and the additions that we've made out at the airport. Since just in the last 10 years, you think of some of the structures and things like that. Well, the cost of those is not only when they're going up, is what we want to protect them down the road. So, standard deductible is for all of the perils other than those two words, wind and hail, are $5,000. Wind and hail is going to be $10,000 and actually 2% on certain properties. So that has changed over time, and the insurance industry is transferring some of that risk back to the insurers. I'm sure some of you are noticing this on your own personal insurances, and that's been fun, right? And so this is the same type of thing, only we're talking about larger amounts in more of a condensed area. And so that's why, like I said, we hope the whole town doesn't get hit, but if it does, we have coverage for it. So that's it. The next page is kind of some other little included items that you don't think about. One of them, about five items down, business income and extra expense, right? If we're not able to do our functions and our things, we may be out a loss of proceeds or things like that. We need business income and extra expense. This is just an included part of the municipality property section. Fences and signs and some of the other types of things. We get into this when it gets to be some of the bigger claims. Does that make sense? And you don't think about some of these incidentals that are included in here. Debris removal. Well, I mean that's the thing that's going to go with it when we start moving some property. The very next, on the back side of that page, some things I want to talk about is we got personal property, off-premise, and transit, right? So maybe we're hauling some inventory, some other structures. Unreported buildings and structures. Number 4 from the bottom. This is your catch-all deal, and I'll tell you a perfect example of how it worked out in my own personal experience with the municipality. We have all these different structures and buildings, right? And I will tell you, one of our situations is we didn't have an awning type situation at one of my municipalities, and straight line winds blew that down. It was like a picnic structure, kind of like our picnic structures down there. We try to stay on top of the buildings as much as we can, and valuations did just flat got overlooked. Because we have blanket coverage, and we also have a little catch-all here of like $50,000, just to pick up those types of things, that's where that came into play. So that is one of the things. Of course, water, sewage, backup, if it damages one of our buildings, we have up to $100,000. Those are types of things. Utility services, direct damage, or time element, there's some extra coverages there. So property is I'm going to say it's 50% of your guys' insurance premium. And it's because you guys have a lot of stuff. And with that comes good risk, I guess, from that standpoint. So we've tried to stay on top of as much as we can. And we will go through some of those buildings. I mean, you guys made some additions at the ballpark. You know what I mean? We're always expanding. That's a good thing. So the next section is in the Marine. And this is where I make the bad jokes about us insuring yachts, because that's what the city budget It's not. In the marine is equipment, portable equipment that's taken off of our premise. So think of it this way. Your street sweeper that's running around on it's not plated for road use, right? But it's a piece of machinery, it's a piece of equipment. So we have to ensure the physical damage of it here, the liability exposure with it though is on the auto. Does that make sense? So if we run into Max's truck while it's on the road and we do property damage to it with a street sweeper, you know what I mean? That's going to come from the commercial auto section for property damage. But the damage done to our street sweeper is going to be physical damage from here. Okay? So think of it like that. We have a Bobcat excavator, the New Holland bi-directional tractor, cat loader, and of course the cat skidster. Those are our big ticket items that land here, but also there's some other equipment, hand tools, right? Some of those types of things that may be on the pickup and it gets hit with a theft or something. We have a $1,000 deductible on that for physical damage. That's a situation that really hasn't fluctuated too terribly bad, kind of stayed pretty steady. Stop me at any time. The next section is the business auto. This is just like it says, and like I said, I just did Cliff Notes versions for you guys. The actual breakdown of the autos is over here in the bid specs. You know, if you want to look at what we're insuring related to that. The Freightliner dump truck, right, is what we're talking about here. The Peterbilt garbage truck, those are your bulk items that make up this. We do have a pickup. We do now have 1,000 deductibles related to it for physical damage. The old Silhouette van, that sweet thing does not have full coverage on it. It's liability only from the airport. It's our transportation there. But if something happens in an accident, we have $1 million worth of liability here for bodily injury or property damage. And right now, so everybody goes, gee, Jeff, that doesn't sound like a lot of coverage. It really isn't $1 million in this day and age, unfortunately. But keep in mind we have an umbrella which we can access for excess liability behind it, and we'll get into that here shortly. So, but other items that aren't licensed for road use, like I talked about before, like the street sweeper and some of those items, physical damage on the marine, but the liability portion is going to be here. Okay. The next thing is some other coverage highlights related to it. Basically, some of the things here that jump out at me is that we've got basically for customized, permanently installed equipment, some of those types of things, fellow employees included. The next 2 pages related to liability, I'm going to get into those. If you flip through that, you'll go to the general liability summary proposal right here. We have a lot of liability running a municipality. Think about it, our water supply, right? Some of those types of things. Just operating in general. How does a municipality get rated? Of course, it's rated on population, right? For our census size, it's a certain percentage. The bigger cities obviously have a higher exposure, right? There's more people. No different than your retail business on Main Street. Sales may be the way they rate those. Ours is through population. And then there's other things like what else does your city do? Like the swimming pool has its own, right? We do have a golf course. Now let's talk about that. This is Ed remembers those days, the old golf course and the buildings that were damaged out there. We actually provide that. We own that, right? So we own the ground that's there. The buildings that are there are covered underneath our property coverage, right? Basically the board out there runs it though. So right here's where we get into the talk of liquor, right? Because they do sell alcohol out there, at least they used to. I haven't been out there. I haven't been in Swan Club yet. I haven't been out there. I'm assuming they still sell alcohol out there. But it helped my golf game. Anyway, out there, if that's covered by them, they get the proceeds on the alcohol sales. But what happens in a liquor liability situation? We have post-liquor liability coverage included in our policy. And that's one of the things like in the bid specs that we talk about. The city isn't the one making the sale. It's handled by a different party that has actually the liquor license. So, but there are different things. Employee benefit liability coverage is here. So if a situation happened there that caused a claim, we do have coverage for that. And once again, our policy renews June 2nd to June 2nd. That's when it runs, okay? So we actually have a $2 million aggregate amount. So that's our pool of money. Does that make sense? With a $1 million per occurrence limit, meaning that we can go get $1 million in the event of a negligence suit and we're liable. in any one occurrence. But keep in mind, we have the umbrella behind it for another $4 million. So that is why there's things attached to the policy that brings that up. Any questions at this point? Some of the other things that we have, some other neat little features in the legal world. There's a thing called waiver of subrogation. I usually beat that down to death every year that I'm here. Talking about your lovely parade that you folks like down Main Street, right? We love the parade. Don't get me wrong. Nothing ever happens on the parade, does it? Sorry. Well, not our parade, anyway. But if it does, sorry, bad humor. That's on tape. But it's coming down Main Street, and there is a claim, right, that happens on Main Street. We have signed a waiver of subrogation because this is a highway that runs through town. So if that happens, the Department of Roads, we accept responsibility because that's their highway and we have to block it. And so they make us sign a waiver of subrogation. So the city of Grant is on that, even though that's the Perkins County Fairs highway parade. So we take on, and we actually have to pay for that to have that done. So those are the types of things that go into that people don't think about. So the next page is the cyber section, and I'm going to be honest with you guys. This is a hot button right now in the world of insurance, cyber liability. So remember when we added this a couple of years ago, and to be honest with you, it's still one of those things that me professionally, I haven't even wrapped my mind around it because I learn more about this stuff when we actually have claims. Knock on wood, that's not happened yet, but I will tell you, the big news makers is the cyber extortion, and we don't really have extortion. We don't really have a lot of coverage for that. We have 25,000. So the situation though is in that situation like that is if they steal your information and then they want to hold you for ransom, right? That's all we have to pay for that. But if we have a cyber suit liability situation where someone sues us related to we've compromised their personal injury information, it's $250,000. That's what we have. So that is that section. The next one is the linebacker, and this is where I usually cue my bad. It's not football season, unfortunately, in June, but there's probably spring training camp coming up. Linebacker is for you folks, right? It's also for these guys here. This is your professionals liability coverage, and I always put in the nice little cheat sheet afterwards for E&O and employment practices liability, wrongful termination, discrimination, those types of things from the hiring standpoint. But it's also a situation where if you guys, if a suit's brought against you guys acting as a public official for bodily injury or property damage of some sort, we have $1 million worth of coverage here. We do have a $2,500 deductible. We call that the old defense expense. That's going to go, that's your deductible. There it goes to the lawyer situation. But then after that, we have up to $1 million worth of coverage here. Our umbrella goes over and above this too. So I will talk about situations that do happen. Say someone makes a claim against us, and then the committee back east looks into it, and there's defense costs, and to see if you were negligent or not. We're going to cover those expenses, whether you're still on the board at the time or if you actually have been removed. Now, the beautiful thing about this is you guys have been with EMC for how long? 6/2/1987. So all prior acts are still covered underneath of there. I don't know what the grandfather on some of that is, but is that not huge? That's huge, right? Related to all prior acts related to this. Not only this, but also the committees that serve as a function of the city. So I suppose like economic development, you guys went through planning committee and it used to be called power board. It's not. What is it? Is it still what it's called? Public works. So there you go. I mean, those types of things are functions of the city are related to that. So any questions at this point? Anyone? Bueller? Okay. Commercial umbrella. $4 million is our pot of money. And that's per occurrence limit. Now remember what I talked about before, a lot of our underlining coverages, the auto, the CGL, commercial general liability, the linebacker, and all of those have like $1 million per occurrence limit, right? And then we have a $4 million one here. Why? This is the question. Why does that about $5 million seem like the number that we're targeting there? Because the Nebraska Tort Act for for municipalities, basically, political subdivisions, the maximum is supposed to be $5 million is your financial obligation. Now, can they sue for more than that? Absolutely. But that is what you're supposed to be protecting is $5 million. So, and that premiums have not went down. So that means it's happening more and more, or they wouldn't be rating it for more and more. The next section is workers' compensation. Don't worry, I only got about 2 hours left. We're good. Workers' compensation and employers' liability coverage right there. We have $500,000 related to employers' liability, not to workers' compensation. Because what is workers' compensation? That is somebody's injured on the job, their medical expenses related to it, right? And there's some loss of wages there, obviously, too. And depending on, and it's just not boom, here's your wages forever. There's quite a process. It has to go through a claim process. They determine how much of a percentage of disability, maybe and the age and wages and stuff like that. So there is a formula related to that. But this is what we're talking about there. This is to take care of our employees while they're working on the job. Okay? The next page is kind of a breakdown of what is it based on? Well, it's based on the actual job duties being performed. Obviously, clerical is a big part of ours. But street and road, waterworks, sewage. We don't have any police officers or drivers that are city employees, so that's why it's still in here, but it's on an if-any basis. But those types of things are all audited annually, right, Jesse? And this is when we will send out an audit, EMC does to her, and her and Candy work through it. And you guys also have an audit based on Park and Rec. We break out insurance costs related to that. Library, we break out insurance costs related to that. Airport, I mean, it's all divvied out. So the buildings, the liability exposure, workers' comp, all of that stuff is audited, and we all try to break it out because she gets audited. It has to go into certain parts of the city's policy. Is everybody with me on that? That is a fun time, and Jesse and Candy do a wonderful job handling that. Jeff is not part of that process at all, and that's good for everybody involved. But I did want to draw your guys' attention to the bottom of the page. It's experience modification right there. And you'll see that you guys have a 0.9 experience mod. Workers' compensation is based on the payroll and so much per 100, but your rates are based on claim frequency and severity. Well, knock on wood, City of Grant's done a wonderful job. And their employees have done a wonderful job. We haven't had workers' compensation claims. And that has to do with your general operating for risk management and stuff related to that. With that being said, I did get this from EMC. They are going to be coming out and doing an actual physical audit on the City of Grant. It's nothing personal. It's one of those things, we haven't had one for quite some time. So they'll come by and they'll look at things like, I think one of the things was like the trip and fall out here freaked them out, right? So that's why we painted some stuff. Is that one of them? We had some bolts one time at the playground equipment that we had cap, I think, or something like it. There were several different things that related to. They just come out and their job is to try to find things that could put you guys in exposure. So that's a good thing. It really is. I know it can be a painful process anytime that can go through, but that is so. Because when I first took over the account in 2004, that was not the case. We had actually I jumped right in the middle of a claim that was rather large, and so your guys' at one time the workers' compensation premium was, I would say it was 20 or 30% of the premium at that time, back in the day. So we've done an excellent job of keeping those down. The last page of our novel is the airport, okay? Once again, we insure the buildings out there, but the liability exposure related to it, EMC does not run, okay? So we have to go through the specialty lines for premise liability coverage there. And once again, you can see that one, our umbrella does not go over above this. This is a separate contract. So what is its policy? It's a $5 million is what it has. You also have a thing called hangar keepers, right? You see that on there? See, this line insurance is so much fun. You get words, just make them up. Hangar keepers, right? This is related to the airplanes that are in your care, custody, and control. Now, is that somebody with a rental agreement with us? No, not necessarily. It's someone who's, say, I think it's like there's some corporate planes and stuff like that that's parked there, and we will taxi them or we'll move them or whatever. And if we do damage to them, they're in our care, custody, and control. That's not a legal term, which just means you've accepted that responsibility. And we have up to $5 million for that, because apparently some of those things are rather expensive. So we want to make sure we have adequate amount of coverage. I'd like to point out that premium has not moved either in the last 3 years. So with that being said, a couple different things. EMC takes all of its municipalities, schools, and things like that, and puts it in a word which I don't like to use, a pool, if you will. They call it a safety, basically dividend group. There we go. And they pay out a dividend if over 3 years that's a profitable book of business. Okay? Well, this last year, in March, the city received a $15,150 check, right? That was probably, yes, but you guys, that's everybody working together. That's the largest dividend the city of Grant's ever received. And that's a couple reasons why. Our premium is up there where it's probably never been. But second of all, they had a good 3-year history put together. So this year's also a good year. Look for that dividend again, because the bad year was actually a couple of years before that. We had 2 back-to-back, because we got paid nothing last year. That's like, doesn't ever happen. In fact, like out of the 26 years they've done it, 19 of the years they paid a dividend. So I mean, so it just doesn't happen. To give you guys kind of an idea, and I put that in this thing here, just kind of talking about the last 5 years, you know. On the second paragraph there, we have had 7 separate claims totaling almost $70,000 in losses. 3 of them were actually general liability claims. 3 of them were actually property claims. They were all a result of wind and hail. Same structure, yeah, and located north of town. And then the other was, we actually did have an auto property damage liability claim that did happen. It was fairly minute, but the property damage liability claim was us and another outfit on some concrete work and stuff related to it. EMC, I will tell you, stepped up right away and paid. The other side, the actual contractor side, took a while to pay, but they did end up getting there. So, and we've paid like I said in that letter, $31,000 worth of dividends the last 5 years. Over the last 9 years, EMC's paid the city of Grant $60,719 in dividends. So when it works well. Now the fun page. This is the one everybody likes, and that's this. Mine's got scribbles on it, yours is not. Because I'm a percentage guy, and I'll give you an idea. Overall, compared to last year, assuming there's no changes made, and we ride this whole thing through, which never happens, there will be changes, but if we were projecting this, if everything stayed the exact same, your increase in premium is $2,990. And I think there's people in this room that wishes that's all there was on their personal insurance. But that's what the city of Grant is $2,990 for a 3% overall increase from last year, which is nice, because last year, this time I was having a tougher conversation. We were at 10.5%, and some of and 11% just in the property, and we had to make some changes. Remember, there were some errors to that, but basically your increases are in the property side, 7%. The linebacker is 9.8%. So that's not because of anything you guys have done. That tells me that there's a lot more errors and omissions going on overall related to this particular, not you guys individually, but to this particular field. Workers' comp is down overall. Not only are you guys operating at a 10% discount, but the overall rates for their municipalities are down 6.5%. In the auto, but we had some deductible changes there that helped out with it, but it's down 5%. So the big part was property, guys, and I don't have an answer for property. Wind and hail in Nebraska is expensive, and it is starting to, I mean, like I said, we've had about a year and a half, 2 years here, good loss ratios, but 5 years before that, Nebraska's a loser. And some of you guys I've talked to a personal side related to insurance. Number 1 in the state of homeowners insurance premiums increases in the last 10 years. We don't win the national title in football. Our basketball team made it to Sweet 16. That's pretty good for us. Girls volleyball is always in the running. we're number one in homeowners insurance rates going up the last 10 years. And it all has to attribute to valuations of buildings and our wind and hail losses. I mean, that's really what it is, because or fire, maybe here shortly, it seems like if it doesn't rain. That's what it's been. We appreciate your guys' business very much. We appreciate you guys working with the hometown agency, hopefully my staff. I love working with your guys' staff, even some of the old ones. But I enjoy working with the cities group. We have a pretty good working relationship. Jesse's been doing this. She can do this. All the stuff with her and Candy work pretty well together. It makes it so it's easy. So when there is a claim, and we're the ones, I mean, I met with that client in town. I mean, that was us. Him and his family came out of our office when we had that contractor thing. You guys never probably met with any of it. I don't think. We handled it. And that was just good communication between us, the city offices. So you guys can go to running the city. I don't want you to have to do the risk management. That's what you guys basically hire us to do, and with our relationship with the city employees. So, questions, concerns? It did go down, but that's about as good as I can do.
I'm grateful for just the 3% increase.
And we definitely appreciate you guys. With that, anything from the audience? Anyone got questions? Concerns? Jeff Steele's Hometown Agency. Thank you guys, appreciate you guys.
Thank you. You did a great job.
Most excellent, thank you.
Good evaluations.
Thank you.
He does management insurance a little bit.
More entertaining.
Yeah. We just need a motion to accept.
I'll make the motion to accept, award of quotation in the city of Grants property and casualty insurance.
Second.
Charity moved.
Two hometown
Oh,
agencies,
oh,
sorry.
yeah.
Second.
Charity moved, Sam second, that we accept the hometown agency's bid of the property and casualty insurance. Any discussion? Sam, how do you vote?
Yes.
Andrea? Yes. Karen?
Yes.
Kimberly?
Yes.
Motion carried. Alright, thank you. Alright, action and discussion on rate study conducted by Randy. Alright, from the Nebraska Rural Water Association.
So Randy has retired, so hopefully we don't have any questions or too many, I guess.
So he retired on us?
Yes, so we had a couple questions, so that's why he did come out in March or whatever and do stuff, but then we were doing some follow-up with him. So, the first page of his report was, just kind of the current rates, what he could expect for annual water sales and stuff at the bottom. And then the second page was our expenses for the last 3 years, averages, and kind of where our gains and losses are. And then he is currently potentially recommending that you guys look at potentially $1.50 per month increase and then changing the price per gallon to 20 cents per thousand increase on it, so that it would be, that's what the current, or the page on the back then would be with, is showing that those monthly fees are increased by $1.50 on each of them, and then the water sold with the 20 cents, so that it would be $2. And he did, I guess, include that, kind of what other communities our size are currently charging, so.
Derek, do you agree with his recommendations?
Looking at it, I mean, yes, it's, Jesse has the actual number or date of when the last time we actually raised rates were.
So,
I believe it was
yeah.
2019.
So technically in 2019, we only added one rate onto our rate schedule. And so we hadn't changed the rates since we started with the water meters in October of 2018.
Probably time to increase to pay for continued infrastructural repairs and what have you.
So we would go from $17.50 to 19 monthly fee, and then we'd go from $180 to $2. And,
Correct.
I mean, average is $27.35, and average it for monthly fee, and average price per gallon is $2.21, so we see well below the averages.
His main recommendation on it was because he knew that we were gonna be doing some different projects still to kind of finish up new well, another water line project. The water meters will be shortly coming behind and stuff like that for replacement.
I agree, because that one well is hitting its, probably expiration date within the next, what is basically,
Next 4 to 5 years,
Yeah.
probably.
yeah, and that would be pricey.
For some of these rates outside of the city, we may be getting into territory that's not your specialty, but for some of these rates that are, different sizes of water main and that are outside of the city, or just non-traditional, I guess, the hike is a bit more.
So
How does he figure that out, I guess? Is that a percentage of water?
I assume that's how he got it set up to start with. And the majority of your users are the 1-inch lines, so that's,
And when would these go into effect if we move forward with it?
that, I mean, we can do whenever you guys, I mean, I don't feel like it is that large of a rush either, so I mean, we could wait till even like our transition with our fiscal year or something too, with this one, it's up to you guys kind of on that. So, and of course, we'll have to prepare a resolution and everything on that, but
He wasn't too concerned, he just said we probably need to raise the rates to be more in line with the other communities and with the projects and stuff, but he wasn't adamant that it had to be done right this second.
I do think it needs to be done, just because, we're gonna have to pay for that well and whatever, there's still some water mains that need replaced and everything is just expensive.
Yeah, revenue on it at this point is nearly break even without an increase, and it's well below average for other communities, so.
Looking like it calculates a 9% increase across the board, whether you're inside the city or outside the city, so,
And with the resolution, that gives us 3 readings.
we don't have to.
Oh, no.
Not for a resolution,
Okay.
but we can do if we want to give.
so it's not like,
Push
it's
the
not like,
active date.
Yeah, the effective date to whenever you guys want it to become effective.
Yeah.
as far as like increase, you're basically increasing everybody by 9%, it's not like, it's like we're picking out people out of the city, you know, 5%
Right.
people live in the city.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's just a larger rate to
It is.
start, so
a 6-inch water line's gonna pull a lot of water.
And quickly too.
I'd also point out, since this is 2019, is when this, before our last rate increase, we went through COVID after that, and some of those years are 24%, inflation, so. I mean, I don't even. Just 9% in 6 years, and going through after those years with 24% inflation,
I think so.
pretty on the low end.
Acceptable increase.
I mean, if you look over the last 6 years, it's 1.5% over the last average over the last time frame, so.
Sounds like everybody is on the same page with the numbers. I guess the question now is when.
Do we have any idea, what the increases are recommending across the other cities? You know what I mean?
No, cause they just did it on I
Just
don't
average.
know if they would tell us if they honest.
Sure. Well, I guess when did we raise it? In 2018, we had water years. What
It
month
was
did
in
you-
October that we.
In October,
changed
with the new
numbers.
fiscal year?
Yeah, I like that.
Lines up with the fiscal year. I think it gives everybody a little break in the summer when we tend to have higher usage, get us through that at our current rates and let folks prepare for
Yeah.
increases in the fall.
I agree.
I think that's fair.
Does this budget for it a little bit easier too?
Hopefully. I'll go ahead and make a motion to accept the water rates as presented, beginning with our new rates in October of 2026. Any specific date?
We'll have to do it by resolution, so it's okay, that's how you want the resolution prepared or whatever.
I'll second.
Kimberly moved, Attorney second, that we accept the increase that Randy Publish recommended beginning October 1st, 2026. Any more discussion? Attorney, how do you vote?
Yes.
Sam?
Yes.
Kimberly?
Yes.
Andrew? Yes. Motion carried. Thank you for gathering that information, and yes, can't send Randy a thank you because he retired.
We're still thinking it, but.
Okay, yeah, send him a thank you. Alright, well, that was good. Thank you very much. Action and discussion on the interlocal cooperation agreement between the library funding arrangement between Perkins County and the city of Grant. Hannah, would you please give us an overview on this interlocal?
Yes, so this was drafted by the county and they gave it to us to look at. I think it's just more of a formalization of the money that they've been giving the library. They're not cutting what they're giving the library, they just want a better process in order to do that, and, we're allowed to do that through an interlocal agreement with the county. They feel that it's necessary to still contribute to that fund because there is Kent residents who use the library, and so we still want to contribute those funds. However, for audit purposes and accounting purposes, they would prefer to do that through the city and have the city then give them a quarterly bill, and the $8,000 would be dispersed on a quarterly basis.
Okay, and if we don't use it within that quarter, how does that go?
I don't know if it necessarily, I mean, they're just budgeting the $8,000.
Okay, so that they're just dispersing it in a,
Quarterly,
Okay.
yes, but Jesse would get a summary to them up there every quarter for them to review for their $2,000 contribution.
right, and then it would just be on our building claims, and it items within just the one sheet.
Correct.
So then it would be a lot cleaner and easier for auditors too. And, I think this is a good thing, streamlines the process.
Does it limit donations or grants in any way, shape, or form?
No.
Okay, perfect. And I just read it as, the county agrees to reimburse the city for a quarterly installment, so are we gonna spend more than $2,000 a quarter, the city? I think the answer is yes, so.
The library, yeah.
Wait, we do have library representatives here.
Right.
Do you want?
If you wanna come up and introduce yourself.
Yes, of course. Hi, my name's Maddie Kemley. I'm the president of the library board, and I hope you're happy to see me because that's not always gonna be the case when you see me here. As Derek and Lisa both know, I fight very hard for the things that I care about. So, just a fair warning. Just a request before I kind of ask some questions and give my statement about this. The library board would like some more notice next time on this. We found out yesterday that this meeting was occurring, and 4 out of 5 members have young children, so we have to make arrangements to be here, and we would really like to be here to represent the board. So we could just have some more notice next time if the agenda gets finalized on Fridays, right? Yeah, would just love to know on Friday instead of the Monday before.
And then it's posted on the city website, the agenda.
Okay, perfect, great, thank you.
And this was
So-
also on the county's commissioner meeting prior to it coming here. Which is
Wonderful.
also public notice, so if you
Okay.
wanted to go to the commissioner meeting, you could have gone to that last month or the month before, I don't remember which
It
one
was
you
on
guys
the
on.
meeting on
Okay.
the 4th.
Good to know, appreciate that. So our board meets tomorrow night, and we would really like the chance to discuss this interlocal agreement as a board. Per Nebraska state statute, our library board has authority over the governance and expenditures, including their funds for library support. So we would really like time to discuss and prepare a statement for the city council regarding the interlocal agreement, as the board has not mentioned at all in the agreement proposed by the county. So we're just asking that there's no action on this item tonight, so we can discuss as a board and prepare a statement for the next meeting. Anything else that you guys want to add? Okay, do you have any questions for me?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Is there a necessary for this to go to the library board?
No, because it's not changing the funding that they're receiving from the county.
Everything is staying the same, this is just an administrative task.
Correct.
So what would going to the board, but is there any way that would limit, I'm not sure, do we have some questions here? What would going to the board, what would it change? Is there any way to we change the agreement? What would be the limit? What would be the objection? The purpose.
Mostly just, we would like the chance to discuss it, cause we heard inklings of this at the last city council meeting, we saw the agreement today. So if we could just talk about it, see if there's anything that, can we add anything to it? Like, we could go to the county and request that we can add at least how the library board is in charge of the funds of the library. Like, that's not anywhere in the agreement. Like, the library board's not mentioned.
State statute though.
This is an interlocal agreement between the city
Right,
and the
right.
county.
Right, and remember, the library is a department of the city. You're not your own entity.
But we are the governing board of
It
the library.
doesn't matter.
Alright,
You are still a department of the city, and the city will take care of administrative tasks.
You guys can still submit whatever receipts to Jesse for that to go to the county. It's not changing your authority on how you spend that money. It's just that then that has to be prepared on a quarterly basis to take to the county.
Okay, can I add a couple of just questions that I have?
Go ahead, for the
Robin.
record.
Robin Quinn, Library Director, Hastings Memorial Library. A couple of the concerns that I have are the specific And I realize that this is the same county funding. For the record, this would make my life so much easier. It would, we are very happy to do this and streamline the process. A couple of the things that I am concerned about is the way that it is set up now, none of these funds come into the city budget. And in the state statutes, if money comes from the county into the city funding, that automatically constitutes providing support funds for the library, which means, and it does say in the interlocal agreement that this would ensure that all county residents receive the same services as city residents. And what this interlocal agreement would essentially do is, if we made the decision that we wanted to charge county residents, we would not be able to, because their money is now considered as direct support of the library, whereas before it did not come through the city budget at all. And so in state statute and in their local agreement, it says that this constitutes like equal support for county residents, whether they live inside, like if they live outside the city limits. So what that does is, when we've already had a $48,000 budget cut, we don't want to have to charge county residents, but if we had to, we would not be legally able to.
Is that how that reads?
That's number 3 that she's talking about.
Right. The other, if you look at Nebraska State Statutes 51-207 through 51-209, it specifically and repeatedly states that the library board is in charge of all of the funding for the library. And so they should, like, the city sets the amount that the library gets. Like, you decide, the city council decides the amount of money that the library gets. But any outside support in the state statutes, it says, repeatedly says library board. And so I just worry that this is not, as, just reviewing the state statutes, that it is actually not, I don't wanna say not legal, but potentially not correct, and that some of the wording needs to be changed, and at least add the library board in there. In one place in the interlocal agreement, it says that it is handled by library staff, but the library board is the supervisory body of the library. Hence why we don't just bring all of our bills and claims directly to Jesse for you guys to review and pay. The library board has to review and approve those before the city can pay them out. And so that is what I am concerned about, is that, like, there could be some issues with this if in the future. So I just would ask, again, like Maddie asked, that the board has an opportunity to review that. I have reached out to our regional library director, Ethan Nelson, from the Western Library System, as well as Krista Burns, who's the library development director at the Library Commission. And just because I'm not just reading this, like, I'm obviously not a lawyer, nor do I play one on TV, but I just want to make sure for the library board and for the city that we're doing this in completely the right way. So, and again, I wanna say, I'm not against doing this at all, because for real, it would make everything so much easier for me, because right now, I have to make 3 copies of everything that I do, take one to the county, bring one to Jesse, put it before the library board and get it approved. This would make my life as a library director so much easier. So I want to make sure that you know I'm not opposed to the interlocal agreement. I just have some concerns about the wording of the interlocal agreement. So that's it.
Alright, thank you. Any concerns, Tom?
I do not have any concerns. I do see where it says library staff, and so if we need to make that change, we can. I don't think that, I understand what her concerns are, however, the way that this is written isn't saying that it's the library staff's responsibility, it's more stating that any of the books and any of the items that are purchased will become city property, is that paragraph that it talks about the library staff. So I don't think that that would be an issue, but
It's fine like it is what I'm hearing.
yeah, cause it talks about the materials and services and that, those will belong to the city, is where it talks about library staff. It's not regarding the funding source, it's talking about once that those things are purchased, that it's not the county's property, it's the city's through the library's property.
They want no liability for it whatsoever.
Correct, once they
Right.
give that funding.
So on number 3, what talks about the library shall remain open to all residents of the county, including those who reside outside the corporate limits of the city, and the same terms for those residing in the corporate limits of the city. Does that mean we can't charge fees to county residents? Or does it mean that, I mean, the way it's open for people who reside in the city, we have a levy, you know what I mean?
So they're already charged a fee.
Right, so, I mean, and we talked about this at a different time, that they could actually go to the county and actually, get a levy from the county as well. Does that limit our ability or the library's ability to charge for a fee for, county residents? Or does it certainly don't seem like it keeps them from going after a levy of the county.
No, the purpose of that statement is just that, by providing county funding, that it then needs to remain open to county residents as well as city residents, is what the meaning of that sentence is that the county is providing funding, and so therefore they want, that it still remains open because the county and the city are providing funding to the library.
So we say on the same terms those reside, that means that it's open to be either way.
Correct.
Doesn't mean we can't charge a different rate for a county resident if we wanna charge a library card.
I would assume not, I mean, I don't know 100% just off the cuff if that would.
But that also is the people who live in the county, that doesn't mean the people who live in Venango, Madrid, Elsie, right? That means the people who do not reside in the city, is that how that would be read? I mean, like, is that what they're saying is that it's the, that don't reside in the people that live in the actual county and not residing in a city?
Right, have the same terms as those
I
residing.
think it's residing in the city of Grant, so yes, Venango,
Is it-
Madrid, everybody would be considered county.
Yeah.
Says
I think
outside of
so.
corporate limits.
Cause it's the Grant City Library, right, or Hastings, yeah, Berks County.
I do feel like the phrase on the same terms, I don't know that the county would question it if the library wanted to assess a fee for a card, but I don't want to limit their ability to do that, so I don't know if that phrase could be modified to provide maybe more clarity on what we're talking about when we say terms. I agree, I think we could definitely battle on, well, the terms for the city is that we have a levy, so that should be no problem, but if they don't wanna go the levy route or can't go the levy route, I don't wanna limit their ability to charge for a card, for sure.
And this is only in effect for till 1 year.
So,
Right.
it's a 1 year?
It's
Yeah.
1 year and
July
another 1 year.
On time of the essence agreement, okay.
Every year this would be reviewed.
Right.
But we don't, this current contract doesn't have like a 30-day timeline we have to sign it on.
No,
We-
I mean, we can go back and say, we want these changes to.
Modify.
And it says we
Yeah.
can change it in 90 days too, you can null and void it, I think it said 90 days.
Yeah.
If they decide to charge for library cards, I mean, you guys have said 3 and 4 times you're not doing that, but that doesn't mean you're not gonna change that.
And I think we should, move forward with that, I see no reason to not.
We have another meeting in May and 2 meetings in June before the contract would go into effect. County would have to have their meetings as well if we made any modifications.
So if we don't sign it and ask them to change the clause in 3, if that's what we wanna do, then we would send it back that we denied it, then can you send it back with like changes? But then they have to actually meet at their next meeting to accept the changes, and then it would come back to us.
When's our next
or-
meeting? Do we know when county needs to go?
They meet the first and third Mondays.
I was gonna say, it'd be the 18th.
Thank you, Nick.
So they can still make it.
So they meet the 18th, so could we make the changes, send it to the 18th, get it back to 26th? Library can have their meeting, I mean, is it really, I mean, I don't know if it doesn't necessarily have to rush it, we can let everybody go one more round, and it's just 2 weeks, and it doesn't change anything, cause this is gonna go live on what day?
July
July
1st.
Oh,
That's when the county's budget year starts.
so, I'm fine with letting it sit another 2 weeks and let everybody have a say. And then if nothing changes by then, they're agreeable to it, like you said, we can change it in 90 days, you know, I'm fine with waiting until 26.
Is there a
But
motion?
don't we need to direct Tana to
Mhm.
change that?
Yeah.
I mean, okay.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
okay,
And then
that's just,
I would also put in there that we need to direct the library to get in contact with Jared with their changes after their meeting, so that then I can get all of the changes if they have additional changes, so that
When is your meeting?
Tomorrow.
Okay.
yeah, but
Because
don't
that
we wanna
doesn't-
review it from their changes? If they're gonna change
Right, 'cause
anything,
then
we need to
that,
review it
like-
before it ever leaves here then.
Yeah,
If you're
before it
gonna-
goes to the
it probably
commissioners.
won't go to the commissioners then until that following,
June 1st.
yeah.
So we would have it June 8th, 9th, thank you.
If the library reviewed it at their meeting, we could get the changes to us, we could review the library board changes that they recommended the 26th. Get it to the county that week, the county can review it the 1st, and we could hopefully have it back the 9th.
Well, the county can review it on the 18th too, their change, can the county review it on the 18th also, that way?
Not if they're making
Yeah.
changes, you guys should probably
Have
look
a
at it
full
first
set.
before we send it back to the county.
I don't think we have to. I mean, if it doesn't, I think we have plenty of time to just.
Yeah, just need that in a motion as well, directing the different
I mean,
periods.
it's not they go in every single year, I think it's beneficial to have it in writing, so I think we should target the 1st for their fiscal planning, but
Yeah, yeah.
I think we can do it if everybody understands this and urgency and moves forward.
Yes, it's time of the essence, I think we all agree with that, and I think we can make sure everybody feels like they have their say, all parties get a chance to say, if nothing changes, great, and if we're all in agreement, we can charge for library fees or go out with they can still go out for, it doesn't say anything, they can't go out for a levy in the county, you
No,
know what I mean? So,
okay, so our recommendation would be item 3, I don't know that I understand where we need to make modifications about mentioning the board, because they're still going to be making spending decisions, it's still a budget
yeah,
that's provided, so nothing's changing there, I don't see any need to make any changes to that, but, the library can meet and provide their feedback on that.
yeah, what item number they think they would be mentioned in, I think would be where I would say.
Yeah.
Just clarify how they can collect additional funds from, you know, county residents, because they're only paid, you know, not only, but they're paid $8,000, and we're obviously covering 93% of that as the lion's share, so no reason why we can't have additional, compensation. So how do you make a motion for that? Item 3 and and then, what do you need me to say? Or we just-
So I think you just need to say that you, direct that if there's changes that need to be made specifically to include the library board in this agreement, that you're giving the authority to do so, and that we will wait for the library board to get an email to Derek, after their meeting tomorrow, so that then we can get those changes made to the agreement to bring back to the next council meeting.
Do we need a due date on that? You know, the meeting's what time?
Needed by the 22nd.
5:15 tomorrow, if they need, have their email to you by the 22nd or before
By
that.
the 22nd at 2:00.
Yeah, but
Or
that doesn't give
No,
Tana
no,
time.
they
to-
need- yeah.
We need it.
We need it probably the 19th.
When you need it, Thomas. The meeting's tomorrow, so that's the 13th.
So
You need
that's
it
the
by the 4th.
13th. I would say if we can have it by Friday, so that then that
Friday
gives
is-
us some time.
Okay,
Cause I'm gonna have to then talk to Rick too, to get those changes made.
And just because there's recommended changes doesn't mean that they will be made, because both you and Rick have to, or the county have to come to that agreement.
Yeah, the county might reject it with,
Mhm.
very easily could reject it if they don't like our changes.
Mm-hmm.
well, they've already signed it, so we can just go back and we can still sign the original agreement. You know, so we're not really out of anything.
Right.
You know,
All right, was that your motion, Sam?
yes, let me make sure. Let's give a- Yeah, I make a motion to direct the city attorney to, evaluate the necessary, if there are any necessary changes, recommendations from the library board that will have their, recommendations delivered to her via email, by May 15th at 09 AM on that day. And what else can I say?
I think that's it, and then to bring it back to the next council meeting for.
Okay, bring it back to the next council meeting on May 26th.
Okay, Sam
I'll
made-
second.
Sam made a motion, Kim second, that, Tana will receive recommendation or changes from the library by May 15th at 9 AM, and this document will be back to the council by May 26th, or on the council agenda, May 26th. Any discussion? Tierney, how do you vote?
Yes.
Kimberly?
Yes.
Sam?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Motion carried. Alright, thank you, everyone, good input there. Action and discussion on resolution. Make sure that's the one. Yep. 26-0501, resolution approving a 4% increase on electrical rates for the city of Grant, Nebraska. And Derek,
This is the increase from what we're getting from me, that we will need to increase our electrical rates, the 4% to cover the cost of what we're purchasing from me and then supplying.
So when did we increase it?
April.
April?
Our increased April 1st. And the last time we have increased electrical rates was, or the overall percentage was 9.5% in 2015.
so quite a while ago.
11 years?
Yep.
Alright,
And this would be, go into effect June 1st, so it will not go on to the bill until the July bill. So it'll be, because it'll be a partial month when they read in June for the June bill.
okay. Good to know.
Yeah.
I hate increasing rates, but at the same time, we can't go in the hole, you know,
Right.
I mean.
Yeah.
We're already in trouble in our budget, and that's before increases, so we
Yes.
can't not.
It's 11 years, and it's, you know, we're 4%, and they've already increased their rate, I mean, really, you know, we're already paying more.
Were we behind the ball by a couple months?
I will make a motion to approve resolution 260501, approving the 4% increase in electrical rates for the city of Grant, Nebraska, effective June 1st, 2026.
I'll second.
Kimberly moved, Tierney second, that we accept resolution number 26-0501, approving a 4% increase in electrical rates for the city of Grant, effective June 1st, 2026. Any more discussion? Kimberly, how do you vote?
Yes.
Tierney?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Sam?
Yes?
Motion carried. Thank you very much. Action and discussion discussion on resolution 260502, resolution approving increase in electrical billing surcharge rate for the city of Grant.
The surcharge rate is, we pay vendors in the billing contract, and the rate that we have now, we are not covering that amount that we are paying.
So we're losing money.
We're losing money in a certain area, which a lot of this is just one thing that we've looked into, and then we talked about trying to find somebody to do a whole electrical rate stuff. But this is something that we need to get on top of now, cause it is a significant amount that we are losing behind if we do not increase.
So does this break even, or breaking even with the 750?
We kind of figured that with the percentage that it's gone up over the years, it will almost put us even this upcoming year when we get the new contract signed, just by the base increases that they've given us every year.
Okay.
This is, basically gets break even right now and allows them to leave their electrical store rate before we make any decisions moving forward.
Yeah, so this will allow us to break even on the O&M contract for the
billing
billing,
portion.
and the billing portion of it. And then, once we get the rate study, then we can decide how much others, cause there's some others that need to be looked at by somebody that does the electrical rate studies.
Okay.
And I've been working with Jason, they have not, I know, I told you at the last meeting, I talked to them and they have not found anybody quite yet, but there was a couple that he'd reached out to. And he was gonna let me know who they go with, so I can contact them and just see if they can do a rate study for us while they're doing Midwest rate study.
And it may be a whole structure change, so that's why though we thought we would at least do this, cause there's still another, fixed fee on there that has never been changed since I've been here, so, but that we figured would be better with the study at that point.
And the last time this was changed was in 2013. It increased 25 cents, I think, in 2013.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, any business, you gotta increase your costs, you're losing money, so.
And it'll be the same way that we had it set up for June 1st, so it would go on to the July bill.
I appreciate that we don't raise rates, but maybe we need to look at them just a little bit more
Sooner.
often, and I don't mean that negative in any
Yeah.
way at all, but then we don't have $3 in one
Yeah,
night, you know,
right.
but again, it's been 10, 12 years that we've done anything, but I'm not against it, I just meant maybe every 3 years or something,
Yeah,
or 4,
or an annual, small annual increase, so it's not, it's like something you can plan for, we can plan for, people that are, they can budget, you know what I mean?
yes, yeah.
And then,
No,
That was a good idea.
Okay, I move to accept resolution 260502, resolution increase in electrical surcharge rate.
second,
Andrew moved, Sam second, that we increase the electrical billing surcharge rate through resolution 26-0502. Any more discussion? Andrew, how do you vote?
Yes.
Sam?
yes,
Jen?
Yes.
Kimberly?
Yes.
Motion carried. Did everyone have a chance to review bills and claims?
Yes. Make a motion that we pay the bills and claims in the amount of $321,387.25.
Second.
Kimberly moved, Tierney second, that we, pay the bills and claims in amount of $321,387.25. Any discussion? Sam, how do you vote?
yes.
Kimberly?
Yes.
Tierney?
Yep.
Andrew?
Yes.
Motion carried. We are adjourned at 8:19. Thank you, everyone. Good meeting.
I have not signed the page.
You guys have the thing.
Recording stopped.